You ready? When I put out a plea on Facebook for people's stories about CPR and the Heimlich maneuver, I got a lot of answers from medical professionals. But I also got an answer from this lady. This is my friend Callie Purcell. And Callie is definitely not a medical professional. As a matter of fact, she's a ballroom dancer in Antigua. And Callie emailed me, and this is the story that she shared with me. We were watching television when I heard almost a choking sound. I turned around to see this man's head had fallen backwards on the chair. He was a spooky blue color, and this is no joke. I had just been certified for CPR 4 weeks before this happened. So I freaked out and started calling his name. Got no response. I got him on the floor and somehow got to the phone and called 911. I started compressions and the breaths and wasn't getting any response. I did compressions and breaths for what seemed like forever. I could hear the ambulance sirens coming, and then, out of nowhere, the man sits up. Now listen to me. There was no sign of life in his eyes while he was unconscious. They were dead. And then, like a movie, bam! He sits up. He has no idea where he is. And it's not making much sense, but he is alive. Now, according to the National Institute for Health, CPR is crucial to lowering the mortality rate and increasing survival in cardiac arrest cases. And this is important because just a couple of very simple techniques that are taught in a basic CPR first aid course really can save someone's life. So over the next few minutes, we're going to examine the problem of the thousands of people that die each year because people around them don't react when they cease to breathe. The main cause being a case of fear on the part of people around them, and the solution that would be provided in requiring all high school seniors nationwide to pass a basic CPR first aid course before they're allowed to graduate. So let's begin with the problem itself. According to the National Institute for Health, 300,000 people a year in this country suffer a cardiac event when they are not in a hospital setting. And the news for them is not good because the mortality rate for them is 90%. So only 10% survive. In addition to this, according to the Encyclopedia of Nursing, over 4,000 adults in the United States each year die as a result of choking on food. Now this is not including children, this is just adults. And this problem is so common, it's actually called the café coronary. So the number of potentially preventable deaths from choking and arrest in this country, the number of people would fill the Garden State Art Center 43.5 times. So Jane Brody, in her New York Times article entitled "Why So Many Died Needlessly," in the US, thousands of people with hearts that should be good enough to keep them alive for a long time die each year for lack of adequate first aid. And it's been proven by the American Heart Association that by setting into motion a chain of survival, beginning with calling 911 and beginning with bystander CPR, survival rates following sudden cardiac arrest can exceed 50%. That's 50% up from 10%. That's quite a difference. So now that we have some idea of the magnitude of the situation, let's explore why people fail to take immediate action when someone goes down. The cause is largely, according to Pro CPR's video, 5 fears of CPR. The main fears are a fear of catching a disease, fear of litigation, of getting sued, and worried that you might actually hurt or kill the person who's in trouble. And these are all very common, normal concerns. So the question is, what can be done to allay these fears and increase people's willingness to step up and take action when somebody stops breathing? And the answer lies in mass education in basic CPR and first aid. And by making CPR first aid training compulsory for all high school seniors in the US, we can help reduce the number of deaths. According to Mary Franz Hazinski, she's MSN and professor at Vanderbilt University School of Nursing, she says that training all secondary education students will add 1 million trained rescuers to the population every few years. That's a lot of people. And we're not really far off from that goal right now. according to the Huffington Post, 36 states already are either requiring students to pass a CPR first aid course before they graduate, or they're offering it and really leaning on them to take it. So we're not all that far away from our goal. And this is including New Jersey. In New Jersey, there is a mandate to take CPR before you graduate high school. Now, as I already mentioned, there are certainly concerns that people will have around the prospect of training for and using basic CPR and first aid. First of all, fear of disease. There are such things as mouth guards you can use if you were to give mouth-to-mouth to someone, but most people do not carry these around. What is the most popular thing if you are worried about disease right now is what's called bystander CPR. And in bystander CPR, you never do the rescue breathing. You simply do the chest compressions. And this has been found to be extremely effective in rescuing people. The second fear is fear of litigation. In New Jersey, we do have a Good Samaritan's law, and what it basically says is that if you attempt, with an honest heart, you go in to help somebody in an emergency situation, and you're trying to save their life, if things don't go well, you cannot be held civilly liable if things don't go well. Now, the third fear is that you might hurt or even kill your victim, or the victim. And I'm going to share a basic truth with you. You cannot make a person worse off than dead. Basic fact. So the real problem is not in possibly doing CPR wrong or doing the Heimlich wrong. The problem is not doing it at all. So there's one other big question that comes into play here, especially in this day when we're cutting and slashing budgets of schools and everything, is how are we going to pay for this training? Well, there are a variety of ways that people do this. First, get in volunteer trainers. There's actually an organization called startinghearts.org, and they will go out for free to your school or to your organization and conduct CPR and first aid training. Another option is to get financial support from local businesses, foundations, civic organizations, public agencies, and the like. So there are ways to get this into the budget, as it were. So in the end, the challenge is a solvable one. Today, there are hundreds of thousands of people dying who might have been saved. And we know that the cause is a lack of immediate intervention due to fear of action. In order to get people past these fears, education is needed. In requiring all senior high students in the U.S. to pass basic CPR first aid before graduating, we will empower the people of this country to become lifesavers. Because with proper knowledge and training, you can save somebody's life. If you've never taken a CPR first aid course, well, now's the time. The more of us who are trained in these simple skills, the more of us will be willing to step up when an emergency arises. And who knows? The life that's saved could be yours.